Kevin Borba of Locked On Buffs. Is Deion Sanders gone after 2024?
It's a good question. I would say...
Wait. That I put you in a tough spot. Me, Drake Toll, host of Locked On Big 12, says that Deion Sanders will not be back past 2024. Okay. You react.
Okay. I think it's dependent. Can I give you like a he will be back if? Can I go that way?
Okay.
Because I think he will be back if Colorado lands a signature recruit, aka Julian Lewis. I think he needs a reason to be back, right? If Colorado struggles and say they finish sub 500 again, is he as motivated to come back? I don't think so. Is he going to leave for another job? A lot of people point to the NFL. He's said adamantly 1,000 times, I feel like, he does not care about coaching in the NFL because I think there's sort of a appreciation he has for being a college coach where there's sort of like a hierarchy where it's like, I am above you. And he also likes motivating young dudes. I'm not going to pretend like that's not a thing. He loves to inspire young guys. He loves to help them out. But I do think he appreciates the hierarchy. Whereas the NFL, it's like, I'm your coworker. I make more than you. Like, why are you yelling at me? And then also, it'd be interesting to see if a TV company came knocking his way, right? Like, what if ESPN Game Day is like, hey, we'd love to have you on. We're going to offer you more money. Would you turn that down? So I think if Colorado has a good season and they get a signature recruit, he will be back. I think if things get a little rocky, it wouldn't shock me if he's not there because his kids won't be there. Travis Hunter won't be there. And I just don't know if Colorado has the infrastructure to sort of turn it around because this is sort of a program that's built on succeeding now. Now, he did get transfers that have multiple years of eligibility, but it's like, if they're not working this year, what's the difference next year, right?
My dog is kicking my microphone. Now he's eating the base of it. Jeez.
That's okay.
Trying my home office.
He's a good voice.
Kevin, the if question then.
Right.
If Deion Sanders is given an opportunity to be the quarterback's coach for his son in the NFL, does he take it without question?
I'd say no. He's made it a pretty big point to sort of say he doesn't follow his kids. And I think that's kind of a stance of like, he wants to, like, that's him saying, I'm going to do my own thing when his kids leave, which I mean, TBD obviously. But I also think that's him saying that his kids are going on their own journey, right? Like, I think they followed him to Colorado. I think he wanted them to come to Colorado, obviously. But I think at some point you have to let them leave the nest. And I think that's kind of the point where it would be. Like, you can't follow them to the NFL, I would imagine. I think that would be one of the most criticized moves ever. And then when things get rocky, I just feel like that leads to too many bad things, right? Like, what if things start to get rocky with Shador and he has to make the decision to bench him or whatever? Or what if they fire him because it's like, hey, actually, we're not seeing eye to eye. And it's like, okay, well, now you just fired your quarterback's dad. So what does that do for the franchise? So I don't think that'd be worth it. And I don't think he really wants to do that. If I'm being honest, I feel like he wants his kids to do their own thing. And he's talked about before, and I talked about it on my show yesterday with Philip Dukes of On3, he gave them the platform to create a career for themselves, And so I think this is the time for them to be like, I'm going to cash in on the opportunity I've been given.
Talking the if game for Colorado, if Deion Sanders does leave after 2024, was it worth it? Long term, was Deion Sanders 2 years worth it?
Well, give me like an if of like how the season go, right? Like
6-6. We'll call it right down the middle.
6-6. Okay. Realistically, I think it's,
by the way, for a program that had 2 winning seasons in the last 16, what do you?
Yeah, I mean,
all right.
That's kind of where I'm going here. That's a great point, Drake, because obviously they had the 4-2 season in 2020, and then they had the bowl game season, I think is around 2015-ish, if I'm remembering correctly off the top of my head. I think it's a success in terms of buzz, popularity, and money generated for the program. Coaching wise, it probably not, because it's obviously, unless you hire like Ed Reed or whatever other big name is out there, you're not going to hire a coach in college football that's going to generate the same amount of buzz. Like, the buzz ends with Deion Sanders. Like, this is like, if he decides to leave the program, I'd be sort of shocked to see I'd be interested to see who they replace him with. And I'd be interested to see what kind of, like, no, ESPN's not going to be in Colorado for game day 3 weeks in a row, right? Like, that's just not possible. Unless they would have to be a huge name. I don't even know if there's a name in sports that really adds up to Deion Sanders, because if we think about his fame, he's a Hall of Fame football player. played in the MLB, was on the Yankees, which I feel like is a big deal in of itself, won the World Series, I believe, was a TV reality star. And then he also was an analyst for NFL Network. So he has always been on the limelight. So give me like an example of who could match that hype or that level of fame. And I don't think there's anyone out there. So if he leaves, even if they have a winning season, I think you could call it a success for the moment, but not a success for the future of the program.
Yeah, you know, guys like
not be the same.
Trent Dilfer's done it, but nobody's breaking down Trent Dilfer's door with media cameras like they did Deion. Right. Not even close. So if you hire a guy like that, it's like, okay, cool. You got the understudy, you got a backup, you got the B-list guy when you had the A-lister of all A-listers in college football.
Yes.
But before we wrap up the show today,
is Quavo showing up for Trent Dilfer?
No, no Quavo for Trent Dilfer, probably. Lou Holtz might, though. They just like wheel in Lou Holtz. Like, oh, cool. Dorba. Last week, Deion's comments to the media, I guess it was this week. It was recent. Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah. His comments to the media, wouldn't talk to the CBS guy, hated the word bolstered, didn't know what chemistry meant. Was that just a bad day? Is Deion going off the rails a bit? What did you make of that?
I think, and this was what my show was about, excuse me, word soup here, on Tuesday. And I think there's a lot of, or Wednesday, excuse me. In terms of the media stuff, I'll break it down. The guys he didn't want to talk to, I think that's kind of what comes with being in the media. You get it as well, Drake, right? Like you and me do our jobs to the best of our ability. Like you go to Baylor, you ask Dave Aranda all the hard-hitting questions, right? Next time you go to Baylor, though, and you ask Dave Aranda the previous time, hey, do you feel like you should still be the head coach? Maybe Dave doesn't want to talk to you the next time. Mm-hmm. So when someone is writing frequently stories about why you and your program are not doing well, the coach doesn't have to talk to them. And so I've been saying this on my show. As media members, we have a responsibility to cover the program how we feel is appropriate. At the same time, we have to know that there's a chance that players and or coaches won't want to talk to us after we cover the program in the way we do. Now, for the CBS thing, I think that guy was just a casualty because of a behind the scenes sort of thing that is happening between Deion Sanders and CBS. And I'll just leave it at that. I think it's unfortunate because he didn't do anything, but it's one of those things where I think Deion Sanders is setting a precedent with that company in particular. And I think there's some sort of behind the scenes stuff that we don't know about. But yeah, I don't think it was a bad day. The chemistry thing kind of worried me because that was an approach he took last year as well. Yeah. And in his documentary on Amazon Prime, Travis Hunter talked about how difficult it was to sort of adapt to a brand new team, right? And they clearly did not have chemistry last year. And it was a little disheartening to hear that again. I was like, oh, I thought we were kind of past this. Like, hey, we don't need to like each other. Because he said that last year. He said, I played on teams where the quarterback and receiver didn't like each other and we did just fine, which I'm sure that's true. But in college, there's a whole sense of camaraderie. It's like you are representing more than yourself. You're representing your program, your families, and in the NFL, you're there for a check. And so I would call it a mixture of Deion Sanders sort of showing the fine line of relationships between coaches and media. And then I would also call it Deion Sanders sort of not wanting to showcase any flaws in a way. Question mark?
Question mark. We'll leave it a question mark. That's Kevin Borb of Locked On Buffs. Drake Toll with you, Locked On Big 12. Come back tomorrow. We're covering all things college football as it comes up in less than 2 weeks. We get week 0. This has been, it always will be, Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Buffs and Ose Grande.